Welcome to Oddities, a show where we take a look at locations in games to find details, moments, and minutiae we just think are interesting, celebrating the mundane that someone still had to put thought into. So grab yourself a tea or a coffee and sit back as we explore together. Today we're here in Cairo Station, technically the third mission of Halo 2, depending on who you ask. Tasked with repelling Covenant borders, we must work our way through the station. But first, look at this couch. Isn't it kind of nice? Just sitting here by the window, lazily peering down at the walkway below. It feels like a very casual break area for a military installation, probably for whomever is manning these communication stations over here. You've got some chairs with questionable ergonomics, and on the consoles themselves we can see a ton of red flashing lights. Perhaps distress signals coming in from other stations currently entertaining unwanted guests. Or more likely, a general distress code activated by the Navy leadership that puts all stations into lockdown. There are more couches by the balcony here, for anybody waiting for the tramway. And there's some more communication consoles just down here below, kind of tucked away in the shadows. It's quite lonely down here, but you do get a nice view of the moon. Maybe they hide the interns here or something. The martini as a representation of the recreation area is interesting. I wonder what their cocktail selection is. Apparently, this first combat encounter takes place in the recreation area, but all I see are more consoles. Unless they have Doom installed on them, I don't really see how one could chill here. Unless all of the pool tables and air hockey has been moved elsewhere during the attack. There is this landing up here, where more elites jump from during the assault. Perhaps this is where they had some couches, maybe a TV. Otherwise, it really is just a big empty space, and I don't see a martini bar anywhere. Disappointing. Speaking of empty space, this person's office is kind of sad. It looks like it might belong to the officer who oversees personnel working on all these consoles here. But they get a nice view of the trees and Mac cannon, while the officer would have to crane their neck just to glimpse some leaves. This wiring nearby the console looks like it caught some plasma fire and has been severed, sending sparks flying around the room. It doesn't seem too integral, for all the tech is still working for the most part. It is interesting that they sit on the outside of this column, rather than this metal casing which looks like it could act as cable management. Perhaps this wiring was retrofitted, and powers an updated component of this array. I love the commons. The trees bringing a bit of earth to the vacuum of space. I assume they're real. This mulch or dirt being tended by someone, keeping them well hydrated and looking spiff for an admiral's visit. I wonder if UV exposure is different here, without the blanket of Earth's atmosphere. Presumably, the windows are designed to offer protection for the trees and personnel. You'd think there'd be seating up on these elevated sections for people to come and enjoy the plant life. But the only ones I could find were these benches on either side of the commons. Though the Marines may have moved the seating to offer clear line of sight during the siege, not allowing the Covenant any extra cover as this turret above rains down fire. Here in the hangar we can fend off a few waves of boarders, but with them being down in the dock and us being up on the catwalk, you have to wonder who left all these plasma grenades lying around. Maybe these were trophies of war, taken by a Marine who had a passion for Covenant weaponry. But if the Covenant did manage to get up on the catwalk, and were pushed back by the Marines, then why did they leave them here? You'd think they'd be pretty useful to hold on to. In the next hangar, we can enter these stairways that would run below the Pelicans docked here. With their proximity to the Armory, this section below might have housed ammunition and explosives to be reloaded or mounted onto the aircraft. If so, the area must have been emptied out as the attack began. The Pelicans needed to assist in transporting troops and supplies to the surface. You can imagine aircrew scurrying about down here as the Marines ran along these walkways, newly issued weapons in hand. There are these rounds just below the Armory for the Mac cannon. It looks like they are stored through a conveyor system. It's interesting that they're not transported to the base of the cannon directly, unless they want to spread the payload out throughout the station, in case one ammunition store is destroyed by enemy fire. The Cairo could then regroup and transport more ammunition from these stores to get the gun up and running again. That's just a theory, however. I know Halo vessels are highly detailed in the lore, so I welcome any info or correction in the comments. Of course, the poor gunnery sergeant, who's had his beloved armory invaded by an elite unit. Don't these little automatic lockers remind you of Borderlands or Alien a bit? With SMGs being the only weapons available here, I suppose these lockers are for support and administrative staff, who may need to assist in defending the station in a pinch. With the empty consoles everywhere, it seems most of the non-Marine personnel have already been evacuated. There's these burning debris in the next commons, but looking around, I can't see any paneling or wall segments that it might have fallen from. It could have been thrown in from the commons, a destroyed barricade perhaps, or maybe one of the elites just wanted to take a bit of the station home as a souvenir.
I'll cover the commander.
This door, just above the area we find Miranda and Johnson, is strange. It seems to just lead to this small overlook. It's a pretty heavy-duty door just to open to nothing in particular. Unless this area is designed to house a turret crew that could unload into the tram station should a boarding party make use of it. Able to surprise any combatants on and around this staircase. It may just be me, but during this exterior section of the level, I never noticed the in amber clad docked here, us exiting through an unconnected jetway. You can actually walk on the whole thing, appreciating the ship in its pre-flood state. Here we can see her massive engines, duck down here just below the weapon systems, or climb to the very top to get a nice view of the giant Mac cannon. The dock itself seems quite modular, able to either house a frigate or several smaller ships in these segments here. It definitely gives you sweaty palms if you take a peek over the edge. The surface, hundreds of kilometers below us. With its proximity to the frigate dock, these giant elevators in the cargo bay were probably used to hoist supplies to be loaded or unloaded from the giant ships. Ammunition, rations, weaponry, or repair tools and materials It looks like it might be able to head even further down than the platform we use to traverse just below the Mac cannon. There's this crane up above as well. The station might have been in the midst of supplying the in amber clad when the Covenant slipped into the system, her crew now having to make do with what was already aboard. I don't suppose you're usually allowed to use this walkway when the cannon is in operation, but I'm sure a Spartan has a special exemption. I love the way this set piece uses the moving architecture of the station to create another hurdle as you combat these elites. The walkway shifting and changing as the massive gun releases a round that hurtles into the black of space at impossible speeds. Sometimes it's nice to just watch the Mac cannon do its thing. If we switch to anniversary graphics in this location though, there seems to be an absolutely ridiculous amount of ships launching from Earth in these very neat lines. In the last segment here, as we wipe out the Covenant squad defending the bomb, you can actually see the Mac rounds being loaded into the cannon. This giant arm placing it in the chamber, with latches holding the structure together as the projectile is launched. In the bowels of this contraption, we can find a lone Marine, who seems to be hiding from the elites. Poor guy was probably just here to make sure the gun fires smoothly, and now has to contest with what is basically a nuclear bomb. And with that, we successfully defend the station, wiping out the squad and deactivating the bomb. And that's Cairo Station. It's actually quite a short mission, but certainly kicks into gear quickly, showing off the new gameplay elements of the sequel. Thanks for watching. As always, if there's any games, moments, or details you'd like us to take a look at, let us know in the comments. Shout out to our members, Thane Krios 8, Anna A2640, Najkula, Renee, Patrick Connaughton 4171, Speed of the Earth, Nathan Armstrong 6085, Aiden 839, and Call Me Jibs. Thank you all so much for your support. Stay tuned for more oddities, odysseys, open roads, observations, opinions, and live streams, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.